Welcome back everyone, and thank you so much for joining us again today because we are diving deep into the incredible world of rare coins and numismatic treasures where one tiny mistake from the mint can transform an ordinary piece of pocket change into a life-changing fortune. And in today's story we are going to focus on one very particular and astonishing coin, the 1997p quarter dollar, a coin that for most people was just another circulating piece of metal to spend on candy, soda, or parking meters, but for collectors and enthusiasts it has become the subject of endless fascination because of its stunning array of minting errors, mechanical flaws, die mistakes, off-center strikes, doubled features, and all sorts of anomalies that make it so unique and so highly coveted that examples of this error-filled beauty have been valued at as much as $263 million. Yes, you heard that right. A quarter worth more than most paintings hanging in museums, more than historic estates, more than yachts or jets, all because of the way this humble piece of copper-nickel alloy came into existence under the presses of the Philadelphia Mint in 1997. And as we unravel the reasons why this coin commands such astronomical value, we need to start by painting a picture of what normally should have been the case, because the standard 1997p Washington quarter is part of a long line of coins bearing the portrait of George Washington, introduced in 1932 to commemorate his 200th birthday, and struck year after year with minimal changes. But in 1997 something remarkable happened when presses malfunctioned, dies were misaligned, planches were flawed, and the quality control measures that usually catch oddities allowed certain extraordinary coins to slip through the cracks and into circulation. And collectors who stumbled upon these pieces knew instantly that something was not right. Some coins displayed doubled dies where letters such as Liberty or the motto "I in God We Trust" appeared ghosted or shadowed with a secondary impression, creating a doubled effect that is one of the most sought-after types of errors. Others showed broad strikes where the collar that normally holds the coin in place during striking failed, allowing the metal to spread wider than usual and create a warped, oversized quarter. Still others exhibited off-center strikes where Washington's portrait seemed to drift awkwardly to one side, leaving blank crescent-shaped fields of empty metal, and each of these variations added to the mystique of the 1997p. But what really made this year stand out was the fact that multiple error types could be found on the same coin. So one coin might be both off-center and doubled, or struck on the wrong planchette such as a dime blank or even a foreign coin blank. And this kind of double or triple error is the holy grail for collectors who recognize that these anomalies are practically impossible to replicate intentionally, meaning they represent a perfect storm of minting mistakes, rarity, and historical significance. And as word spread in numismatic circles that 1997p quarters with dramatic errors were surfacing, the frenzy grew. Collectors began bidding at auctions, private sales erupted, and whispers of record-breaking values turned into actual hammer prices that stunned the community. With one specimen, a spectacular double-denomination strike on a quarter planchette that had remnants of a dime design, selling for tens of millions, setting the stage for the fabled $263 million valuation we talk about today. But why exactly can a coin like this command such value when logically it is still just a quarter dollar meant for everyday transactions? The answer lies in the trinity of rarity, condition, and demand. Because rarity means only a handful exist, condition means that if one is preserved in mint state with no circulation where it becomes exponentially more desirable, and demand means that wealthy collectors, museums, and even investors with deep pockets are willing to pay anything to secure ownership of a numismatic marvel that few others will ever touch. And when all three converge on a single piece, astronomical prices result. So with the 1997p quarter, we see reports of coins showing missing clad layers where the nickel coating peeled away to reveal the copper core, coins with clipped planches where the blank metal disc was cut imperfectly leaving curved bites missing, coins with die breaks and cuts, creating raised lumps of metal, coins with reverse dies from another year or denomination accidentally paired with the obverse, and even coins struck multiple times resulting in overlapping images. Each of these errors individually can command thousands or hundreds of thousands depending on severity, but when combined in one coin, or when presented in pristine uncirculated condition with certification from top grading companies like PCGS or NGC, the sky is truly the limit, and that is why we see valuations stretching into hundreds of millions, because beyond the metal and the design lies a story, the story of a mistake that became history, a reminder that even the most controlled industrial processes can yield surprises, and those surprises are like fingerprints of time, never to be repeated in exactly the same way, making them priceless to collectors. And if you think about it from another angle, the 1997 peak quarter's incredible rise in value also reflects human psychology, because people are drawn to owning things that nobody else has, to possessing tangible symbols of rarity and uniqueness. And when money is no object, the pursuit of such items becomes almost inevitable. So when a billionaire collector hears that only one or two examples of a double denomination of metal-struck 1997 peak quarter exist in mint state, the bidding war begins and can soar into realms that most of us can barely imagine. And as we dive deeper into the types of known errors, we find that some 1997 peak quarters were struck on planches intended for nickels or pennies, resulting in underweight coins that look and feel completely wrong when compared to normal quarters. Others were discovered with dramatic rotated dies where the obverse and reverse are misaligned by 90 degrees or even 180 degrees, creating an eye-catching twist when the coin is flipped. Still others were found to be mule errors where the obverse of a Washington quarter was paired with the reverse of another denomination. Altogether, a blunder so rare that every example is like lightning in a bottle. And these discoveries fueled the narrative that 1997 was a perfect storm year at the Philadelphia Mint, a year when something went drastically wrong in production, leading to a flood of once-in-a-lifetime errors. And while most people tossed these coins into cash registers and vending machines without a second thought, the lucky few who recognized them early have today found themselves sitting on fortunes that rival lottery winnings. And what makes this story even more exciting is the possibility that more of these treasures still lurk in circulation, hiding in jars of change, in old coin rolls sitting in bank vaults, or in showboxes passed down from grandparents who never realized the fortune they were holding, meaning that the dream is still alive for every collector and enthusiast who takes the time to examine their change, because lightning can strike at any moment and the next discovery could be yours. So imagine for a moment pulling out a quarter from your pocket, noticing that Washington's head seems oddly off-center, flipping it over to find the eagle misaligned, sending it off for grading only to discover you have stumbled upon one of the rarest error coins of the modern era, a coin that auctions for $263 million, and suddenly your life is changed forever. Your story becomes part of numismatic legend, and the humble 1997 peak quarter becomes not just a coin but a symbol of how chance, curiosity, and passion can intersect to create magic. So as we continue to explore the endless possibilities and varieties of errors that occurred on this coin, from minor die chips to massive double strikes, from wrong planches to broad strikes, from missing clad to dramatic off-centers, we realize that every mistake tells its own story and contributes to the mystique that elevates this particular quarter above the rest, making it not just a collector's item but a cultural phenomenon. And that is why to this day when collectors speak in hushed tones about legendary coins, the 1997 peak quarter sits high on that list, a beacon of rarity, a marvel of minting mishaps, and a testament to the fact that sometimes errors are not failures at all but rather miracles in disguise, carrying with them the power to transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. And that extraordinary status is exactly why its value has reached the unbelievable sum of $263 million, a figure that reminds us that in the world of coins anything is possible. So keep your eyes open, your change checked, and your imagination alive, because you never know what treasures might be hiding in the most unexpected places, waiting to tell their story and perhaps change yours forever. And that is the legend and the reality of the 1997 peak quarter dollar, with errors so fascinating and so rare that its worth transcends money itself and enters the realm of numismatic immortality. Next 1989p quarter dollar. Today, because in this video we are going to take a deep dive into one of the most astonishing stories in modern numismatics, a story that revolves around a coin you might think of as ordinary, a coin you might have tossed into a vending machine or used to pay for parking without giving it a second thought. Yet in the world of collectors, this coin has become an object of obsession, a piece of history, and a financial marvel. And that coin is none other than the 1989p Washington quarter, a coin that in its error-filled, mistake-ridden, and extraordinary state has been valued at as much as $133 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. A single quarter-dollar coin that was minted in Philadelphia in 1989 can be worth more than luxury yachts, skyscrapers, and entire collections of priceless art, all because of the strange and unexpected circumstances that created it. And today we are going to unpack all of the fascinating details about what makes this coin so valuable, why collectors are willing to pay astronomical sums for it, and what kinds of errors and mistakes might be present that elevate it from mere pocket change into a numismatic legend. So let's start by remembering that the Washington Quarter series has been around since 1932, when it was first struck to commemorate George Washington's 200th birthday, and ever since it has been one of the most common and widely used coins in America. But in 1989 something unusual happened at the Philadelphia Mint. Presses malfunctioned, dies became misaligned, planchets were flawed, and the quality control systems that usually catch mistakes allowed some remarkable pieces to slip through into circulation. And it is these mistakes that have transformed the 1989p quarter into one of the most famous and valuable error coins in existence. Now, when we talk about mint errors, there are several categories that are especially prized by collectors, and the 1989p quarter has been reported to display nearly all of them in different specimens. Some coins show doubled dies where inscriptions like Liberty or I in God We Trust appear to be shadowed or ghosted by a second strike, giving the letters a doubled look that is incredibly eye-catching. Others have dramatic off-center strikes where Washington's portrait drifts awkwardly toward the edge, leaving large blank areas of untouched metal on the planchette. And some examples even combine multiple errors at once, such as being both off-center and doubled, which is the kind of rarity that makes collectors go wild. But perhaps the most fascinating examples of the 1989p quarter are those that were struck on the wrong planchette entirely, meaning that instead of being struck on the proper quarter blank weighing 5.67 grams and made of a copper nickel-clad composition, these error coins were struck on planchets meant for nickels, dimes, pennies, or even foreign coins, creating underweight or overweight coins with the wrong metallic content. And when you see Washington's head compressed onto a smaller dime planchette or spread awkwardly across a larger foreign blank, you realize just how bizarre and unique these mistakes can be. And it is exactly that kind of uniqueness that collectors are willing to pay millions for. But the story doesn't stop there, because the 1989p quarter has also been discovered with missing clad layers where the outer nickel coating failed to bond to the copper core, leaving one side of the coin a strange reddish coppery color that looks instantly unusual to anyone who notices it. And then there are broad strikes where the collar failed during striking and the metal spread out, creating a coin that is wider and thinner than normal, as well as clipped planchets where small crescent-shaped pieces are missing from the edge of the coin. And then there are coins with die breaks and cuds where cracks in the die caused raised blobs of metal to appear on the finished coin, giving it an almost molten look. And each one of these varieties is desirable in its own right, but when combined into a single specimen or found in pristine mint state condition certified by a major grading company like PCGS or NGC, the result is a coin that transcends ordinary collecting and enters the realm of priceless treasures. And this is where the valuation of $133 million comes into play, because in numismatics value is driven by three main factors: rarity, demand, and condition. And the 1989p quarter, with its spectacular array of errors, checks all of those boxes in ways that few coins ever have. Only a handful of these error examples exist. Demand for them is incredibly high among the wealthiest collectors in the world. And when they are preserved in perfect uncirculated state, they become virtually irreplaceable, meaning that auction prices can soar beyond imagination. Now you might be asking yourself, why would someone be willing to pay more than $100 million for a coin that was originally worth only 25 cents? And the answer lies in the psychology of collecting, because wealthy individuals often seek to own the rarest of the rare, to possess something that no one else has. And the 1989p quarter with multiple errors represents precisely that opportunity, a once-in-a-lifetime chance to own a piece of minting history that is unlike anything else. And for these buyers, money is not the issue. Prestige, exclusivity, and the thrill of owning something unique is what drives them, and that is why the values climb so high. But what is even more thrilling is the possibility that some of these treasures are still out there waiting to be discovered, hiding in change jars, bankrolls, or old collections that have not yet been examined closely. And imagine the life-changing moment when someone casually checking their coins realizes they are holding a 1989p quarter with an off-center strike, missing clad layer, or wrong planchette error worth millions, and that possibility is what keeps collectors searching, keeps excitement alive, and keeps the legend of the 1989p quarter growing year after year. And as we explore further into the known varieties, we can talk about rotated die errors where the obverse and reverse designs are misaligned by 90 or even 180 degrees, creating a disorienting effect when the coin is flipped. And we can talk about mule errors where the obverse of the 1989p quarter was paired with the reverse of another denomination, a mistake so rare and dramatic that every example becomes instantly legendary. And we can also discuss multiple strikes where the coin was struck more than once, leaving overlapping impressions of Washington's portrait and the eagle reverse that are so striking that even non-collectors can immediately tell something is unusual. And each of these errors adds another layer of mystique to the 1989p quarter, making it not just a coin but a story, a relic of minting history that carries with it the power to astonish anyone who lays eyes on. And beyond the technical details, there is also a romantic element to this coin, because it reminds us that mistakes are sometimes the most beautiful and valuable things of all, that perfection is not always what we seek, and that flaws can create treasures far more meaningful than ordinary examples. And when we think of how many billions of quarters have been struck over the years with perfect uniformity, it is these few flawed survivors that truly capture the imagination. So when you hear the number 133 million attached to the 1989p quarter, remember that it is not just a dollar figure. It is a reflection of everything this coin represents: rarity, uniqueness, history, artistry, and the thrill of discovery. And that is why the 1989p quarter, with its astonishing errors and mistakes, has become one of the most valuable coins ever known. A piece that elevates numismatics from hobby to legend. And perhaps most importantly, a reminder that you should always check your change carefully, because the next great discovery could be sitting right in your pocket, waiting for you to notice it and claim your place in the incredible story of the world's most valuable era coins. Last 1988 quarter dollar. Today, because we are about to embark on an extraordinary journey into the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins where minting errors, historical quirks, and human curiosity combine to transform ordinary pieces of circulating change into treasures worth life-changing fortunes. And in this video we are going to explore one particular coin that has captured the imagination of collectors and enthusiasts alike, the 1988 Washington quarter, a coin struck at the Denver Mint that in its era filled and mistake-ridden form has achieved a staggering valuation of $49 million. And yes, it may sound unbelievable at first that a coin with a face value of only 25 cents could ever be worth tens of millions. But when you understand the unique circumstances, the minting anomalies, the incredible rarity, and the passionate demand from the numismatic community, it starts to make sense why this unassuming quarter has become one of the most sought-after pieces in existence. So, let's start by remembering that the Washington Quarter series began in 1932 to honor the bicentennial of George Washington's birth, and ever since then it has been a staple of American coinage, passing through the hands of millions every day. But in 1988 something went wrong at the Denver Mint, and out of those mistakes emerged a handful of coins that today are considered legends. And the 1988 D quarter is one of those legends. And to understand its incredible value we need to dig into the different types of errors and possibilities that collectors have identified and why each of them makes the coin so valuable. Because when we look at error coins we see categories such as doubled dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, wrong planches, missing clad layers, clipped planches, die breaks, and even mule errors, and the 1988 D quarter has been reported to show examples of nearly all of these, starting with doubled die obverses where the inscriptions like Liberty or the motto I Am God We Trust appear with ghosted or shadow-like impressions that create a dramatic doubling effect, instantly recognizable even to someone who has never studied coins before, and moving to off-center strikes where Washington's profile drifts awkwardly toward the rim leaving large crescent-shaped blank areas of unstruck metal that are both bizarre and beautiful to collectors. And then there are broad strikes where the collar failed to hold the planchette in place during striking, causing the metal to expand beyond its normal boundaries and resulting in a quarter that is wider and thinner than usual. And then we come to one of the most famous types of error, the wrong planchette strike, where the 1988 D quarter was struck on blanks intended for dimes, nickels, pennies, or even foreign coins, creating coins that are underweight or overweight, with incorrect metallic composition, and with designs that appear awkwardly shrunken or stretched across the wrong size planchette. And this type of error alone is enough to make a coin worth thousands or even hundreds of thousands. But combined with other errors it becomes a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And then there are missing clad layer errors where the outer nickel layer of the clad composition failed to bond properly, leaving one side of the coin copper-colored while the other side appears normal, creating an instantly unusual and eye-catching piece, and clipped planchette errors where small crescent-shaped bites are missing from the edge of the coin due to mistakes during blank cutting, and die break errors where cracks in the die caused raised lumps of metal known as cuds to appear on the finished coin, giving the surface a molten and irregular appearance, and rotated die errors where the obverse and reverse images are misaligned by 90 or 180 degrees, and mule errors where the obverse of a 1988 D quarter might have been paired with the reverse of another denomination entirely, producing a hybrid coin that should never exist, and therefore becomes one of the rarest of the rare. And all of these possibilities together create a picture of why the 1988 D quarter has become such a legendary piece, because each mistake tells a story of how even in the most precise industrial processes human error, machine malfunction, or chance circumstances can produce something completely unique, and collectors crave uniqueness above all else, because owning something no one else has is the ultimate prize. And when those unique pieces are preserved in mint state condition without circulation where certified and encapsulated by grading companies like PCGS or NGC, they become not just rare coins but priceless artifacts of history. And that is exactly what has happened with the 1988 D quarter, leading to its incredible valuation of $49 million. And when we think about how this value is possible, it is important to remember that coin collecting is not just about metal content or face value. It is about rarity, demand, and story, and the 1988 D quarter has all three in abundance. Its rarity is obvious because only a handful of error examples are known to exist. Its demand is driven by wealthy collectors and investors who are eager to own something that few others can even dream of possessing. And its story is compelling because it is not just a coin but a mistake turned miracle, an accident that became art. And when these three factors combine, the result is astronomical valuations. But the story does not end there, because part of what makes the 1988 D quarter so fascinating is the possibility that more of these coins remain undiscovered, sitting quietly in change jars, coin rolls, or inherited collections, waiting for a sharp-eyed collector to recognize them. And that possibility keeps the excitement alive, because the dream of pulling a coin worth millions from everyday change is what fuels the passion of countless enthusiasts. And imagine the thrill of checking your pocket change and finding a quarter with Washington's head struck off center, or a coin that looks copper on one side and silver on the other, or a coin that feels oddly light or heavy because it was struck on the wrong planchet, and then discovering that your casual find is in fact a $49 million treasure. It sounds like a fantasy, but history has proven that these discoveries happen, and that is why collectors never stop looking, never stop searching, and never stop believing. And as we dive deeper into the varieties of known errors for the 1988D quarter, we find examples of double denomination errors where a coin was first struck as one denomination and then accidentally struck again with quarter dies, creating a layered design that is almost surreal. And we find multiple strike errors where the coin was struck more than once, leaving overlapping and offset images. And we find die clash errors where the dies struck each other without a planchet between them, leaving ghostly impressions of one side of the design on the other. And each of these contributes to the legend of the 1988D quarter, making it a coin that defies the boundaries of ordinary minting and ventures into the extraordinary. And when collectors see such a coin, they know immediately that it is special, that it is something to be cherished and preserved, and that it represents not just value in dollars but value in history, art, and human ingenuity. And that is why the 1988D quarter is worth not just $49 million but in some ways even more, because it stands as a reminder that mistakes can be miracles, that the most ordinary objects can hold the greatest surprises, and that the pursuit of rarity is one of the most powerful drives in collecting. And so as we bring together all of these elements, the doubled dies, the off-center strikes, the broad strikes, the wrong planches, the missing clad layers, the clipped planches, the die breaks, the rotated dies, the mule errors, the double denominations, the multiple strikes, the die clashes, and the sheer unlikeliness of it all, we begin to see the full picture of why the 1988D quarter has risen to legendary status, and why its value has soared to $49 million, because it is not just a coin, it is a story, a legend, and a dream. And as long as coins circulate and collectors search, that dream will never die. So always check your change, always stay curious, and always remember that the next great discovery might be sitting in your pocket right now, waiting to change your life forever, just like the 1988D quarter changed the world of numismatics and became one of the most valuable and fascinating coins in history.